Hello, welcome. Hello, welcome.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I am good. It is just 6:01 and we had about a dozen people sign up, so I'm tempted to let things run for a little bit here before we start. I would invite you, if you have something you specifically want to know, please go ahead and enter that in chat and I'll try to answer it. Good. Hello, Andrew.
Good morning. Good evening.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. I need to get my daughter off to school, so I may pop out for a few minutes.
Oh, certainly. We did have a few people sign up, but I'm going to get started here in about 2 minutes regardless. If you have specific questions, you could just ask them. We're a small group, or you could put them in the chat and I'll hit them as I go along. Entirely up to you. And Kaylin, I would give you the same option. And let me ask, am I pronouncing your name correctly, Kaylin?
Yes, Kaylin, that's right.
Okay. So 1 more minute, we'll get started. So I think we should go ahead and honor our time box here and get started. So let me just start by asking everybody what they would like to get out of the session. So Kaylin, what would you like to know tonight? Or how can I answer your questions?
So honestly, I don't know if I have any questions at this point. I'm just kind of getting into, the whole Agile thing.
Okay,
The project management background that I have is focused on waterfall is where I'm coming from. So
okay.
I'm trying to actually get into learning about the Agile Scrum and what it is and what it entails. And
Well, you've come to a good place. Are you a PMI certificate holder, like a PMP or anything like that?
no.
Okay, so awesome. We can talk a little bit about what PMI does and the services that are available there for you. Andrew, what would make this a great session for you tonight?
Thank you, Andy. Thanks for scheduling this. So we've been active in promoting DA in Singapore since May, working with Novavi as a training partner. They've delivered the DA LSM class. We had 28 students.
Oh, perfect.
We had another class scheduled, but we canceled it because of all of the changes. So we're looking forward to reintroducing, probably in early 2021, DASM and SSM. So really it's just to see an expert in action so that we can mirror what you're doing for our membership. We've got about 20,000 PMPs in Singapore
Okay.
and about 2,100 members in the chapter. So it's a good audience.
So you're absolutely on the other side of midnight. So I appreciate you being here. That's really nice of you. Let me go ahead and get started. The topic tonight is really focused around the first certificate that they're offering, which is the PMI Scrum Master Certificate, or PMI Discipline Agile Scrum Master. So I think just by way of background, PMI is, got about 1 million members worldwide, and there's many, many certificates offered by PMI. And I've been involved with PMI for, going on 20 years. And it's one of these professional trade associations in the US. And I think Pam is coming in. Hi, Pam. How are you tonight? Hey, Pam, I started out and just asked everybody if there was something I could add to the presentation tonight. Looks like Pam's getting her headset arranged. So I'll carry on. So PMI has lots and lots of certificates that are available. So Kaylin, even in waterfall, there's various types of things that PMI can help you with. And I'm one of these people that truly believes them. I've always gotten more out of PMI than I have put into it. So this is a passion project for me, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'd like to say something else that's kind of interesting. There is this vast agile industrial complex that's risen up, and you can tell these groups by, they say things like, if you're not doing exactly what we tell you, you're not doing our process, you're not doing Agile. And there's lots and lots of opportunities to be told how to do Agile. And PMI as a company or an association, over the years, has become well known for, at least people think we tell them how to do everything. We actually have always offered a good list of options, and progressive elaboration has been part of PMI's way of doing things for a long time. But PMI has come forward and said the main thing about Agile is to be Agile, not necessarily just to do Agile. And this is something that has served me so well in my full-time job, which is Siemens PLM. I'm the Chief Scrum Master there for 130 teams. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as we roll along here. So Guerrilla Project Management is myself and some like-minded individuals who are senior practitioners. So we're actually out in the field using this stuff. I have a waterfall vintage myself, and I've got my 10,000 hours in Agile, let's say that. So I've been out in the world for quite some time actually practicing this stuff. And I'm incredibly, incredibly excited about what PMI has to offer. And I have to admit, just between us four close friends tonight, I'm a little bit surprised. I think that PMI has embraced this notion of being Agile instead of just doing it. And you think about the PMBOK, inputs, outputs, the project management body of knowledge, our Bible of how to do a project. it's known for being sort of static, getting updated every 4 years, but having lots and lots of rules. And now we come to our Agile book of knowledge, which is Choose Your Way of Working. And just the title is quite amazing. So PMI has really done some great things here. I couldn't be more proud to be involved with an organization trying to talk about Agile than I am about PMI. So it's just really, really good stuff. So this is our little company. It's our passion project. We're an approved training provider. We offer PMP starting in Q1 next year, and we'll offer all of the certifications eventually. But PMI is in the middle of changing their certification pathways and dealing with COVID like everyone else. So we're going to let the year roll over. The PMP exam is changing in January. We're going to let that happen. Then we're going to come back in and start doing some training. So we are a provider of bespoke training. We are under a verbal agreement with Columbus, Ohio to do their PMP next year. We're doing disciplined Agile training for Columbus coming up actually December 10th. So when you think about Columbus, they're about a 5,000 person chapter. So nowhere near the size of Singapore, but still pretty big. So Pam, are you all headsetted now? Can you hear us well?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. So I took a moment to ask everybody else, what would make this a great investment of 50 minutes? So let me ask you the same question. What would make this a great investment for you? What would you like to know tonight?
Well, I would like to know why we should get our Agile Scrum certification through PMI as opposed to another organization. I'm curious to know if they give any credit for our existing certification of PMP. I'm also interested in knowing some of the requirements and, of course, the training opportunities and exam prep opportunities that your company might offer.
Excellent, excellent. So you have the PMP. Do you have any others?
No,
Okay.
Looking to Agile for the next ones.
Okay, well, actually, you're in the perfect place. This particular course has no prerequisites. So it's a 14-hour course that brings you up to the Scrum Master level. PMI also has an Agile Certified Practitioner and a Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master on offer. Senior Scrum Master is starting December 4th. And I have trained 3 sections of that so far. Great course, higher requirements though to step into that. And also the requirements just changed. So PMI is sorting all that out and kind of rationalizing where things are. With the Senior Scrum Master, we're told will roll out December 4th. But this one we're talking about tonight is just the Scrum Master. And it is designed for people who want to put their first step into Agile. And it is a great course.
Okay, good.
I'm terribly proud of it. So I will carry on a little bit and just say, in the world of Agile, we talk about 3 levels, Shu, Ha, and Ri. And that's a term that they borrow in the Agile world from martial arts or Japanese no theater. There's a lot of argument about that. But basically, Shu means you need the cookbook. Ha means you're ready to modify the recipe. And Ri means that you're ready to write the cookbook. So myself and the other people that train for this company are Ri level people. We're all writing the cookbook. We're all out there actually using this stuff every day. And so that's kind of the differentiator. This is a passion project for us. We want to get out there and spread the word because we think PMI now has the best cookbook available. And we're just incredibly excited to see that somebody has finally said, you can have the cookbook. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So this is me. Sorry for the scary picture. And I think that some people might be here to get the promo code. You never know how that'll roll. So there's the promo code for December 17th. It's 50% off, 50. So you will not get a Scrum Master certification more cheaply than that. This is basically at cost. And that's just because this is a passion project. So the early bird registration runs out on the 28th, and the last call registration goes up till the 11th. So everybody that registers for this course gets a copy of the Agile Book of Knowledge called Choose Your Way of Working from PMI, touchless delivery from Amazon, or you can have it electronically if you wish. And you also will get one shot at the exam. And I have a very, very good success rate with the exam. My people love it. And if you visit my website, you'll see some of the past students who've succeeded. And Manisha has the record for the most likes on my website. I think she's up to about 54 people have said, out on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn Guerrilla Project Management site. She has 54 people that have congratulated her. So I didn't know she was that far up in the food chain, but so it goes. So Agile has matured quite significantly. And I think that there's been this history of Agile where they didn't really tell you what was going on. They wrote manifestos and 20-page documents, and you had to go see the wizard to find out exactly how to do things. And often, in my experience, the wizard was out there busily trashing PMPs and pitching against traditional project managers, as they called me. And what I found was about 15 years ago, when I went on the Agile journey myself, I already knew a lot of this from PMI because progressive elaboration has been in the PMBOK since the beginning. And there's quite a bit of information that crosses over. So I got really, really excited about Agile and jumped in. It was one of the first registered education providers teaching the Agile certified practitioner, which is now kind of the way things stack up as it goes Discipline Agile Scrum Master, then it goes PMI ACP, then it goes Senior Scrum Master, then it goes Coach, then it goes Value Stream Consultant. So PMI has created this whole stack to help people. But if you go out there and Google the new product development game, you'll get a Harvard Business Review white paper that talks about 1980s vintage Scrum. So this has been around for a while, and it's just starting now to cross the chasm. So all of the early majority is probably in, and we're getting into, the majority of project managers have to know something about Agile. And PMI is there to support us, and I'm just so thrilled about that. Next thing that I'll go to is, so you mentioned certifications. Where do I want to go? There are lots of them, and this is by no means the entire list. So Scrum.org is Schwaber, and Scrum Alliance is Suderland, and these two guys originally wrote the Scrum Guide, which you can Google and download. And they've had a bit of a tiff, so I'm told. I don't know that for sure, but the CSM, which is really quite popular, basically it's a 2-day course, a 1-hour test. Everybody gets their CSM and a pat on the back. And they get sent out into the world. And apparently Schwaber and Suderland got in an argument about, the value of a test like that. So there are 2 organizations now. Both of them, I think, have lots of value and lots of different ways to go. Both of them will say, if you're not doing all of our steps, you're really not doing Agile. And I think that's interesting because Agile is really about being Agile. About 30% of the market for big Agile, like I do at Siemens with 130 teams, is Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFe. And I teach all of these modules, and I actually love them all. They're all great. And Scrum at Scale has a similar certification. So large-scale Agile is definitely out there in the market. There are thousands of companies that are doing it. And what I have found in my own experience with Siemens is SAFe is a great place to start, but you run out of steam. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then PMI, we have the venerable PMP. Still, to my opinion, the gold standard of project management, and you have the PMI ACP. So here's a nice little PMI secret. If you have a PMI ACP certification, you can double dip on your PDUs. So you can apply them to both the PMP and the ACP. So this is very nice in terms of keeping your continuing education registry up to date. The Disciplined Agile certification so far requires 7 PDUs a year. And if you follow my company, you can get 7 PDUs just hanging out in our webinars. So there's plenty of interest and energy around Disciplined Agile right now. So I actually teach professionally SAFe at Siemens, and I teach Disciplined Agile, and I teach PMP and PMI ACP. And none of those are my day job. These are just things that I do to sharpen the saw and also to help people and spread the word. And I kind of give back to PMI, which is where I started my career a long time ago. You know, my first big step was getting into that PMP and getting that, you know, stamp of approval. So I'm a very big fan of PMI. But I'd like to say all learning is great, and you will never find me trashing any certification. Wherever you go, however you do it, I'm 100% in love with all of them. And part of the reason I am is because one of the Agile Manifesto signatories is a gentleman named Alistair Coburn. And he's one of the crazier ones. He's great fun. His presentations are just magnificent. He has somebody stand on the stage and he puts a fishbowl over their head and says, this person can't hear anything. And then he validates that. And he says, and this is how we expect people to be able to function on project teams. And so it's just really, really humorous, his presentations. But he says, and he quotes Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman ever. And you know, basically the point here is that too much is the same as not enough. And this is saying that if you get locked into one brand, like Schwaber or Suderland or Leffingwell at SAFe, you're probably missing out on lots of good techniques. So here's the truly wonderful thing about PMI's Book of Knowledge, Choose Your WOW. It actually lists all of these other techniques and says these are fine ways to go forward and do your Agile. They list SAFe as an option, and I'll cover this a little bit because I want to go into our learning environment and just kind of show you what it's like to be in a class with me. Next piece here is, here's the agenda. So here's day 1, day 2. So this is 2 days, 14 hours. This is what we cover in class. We use Agile to teach Agile. The 30-minute breaks, I tend to go more for European style and do a 10-minute break every hour. But I can vary that, but it just depends. And I think that it's really important to parse out some of the key things that PMI has done here, because this is unique. And I'll just go ahead and say, what's beyond Agile? Because a lot of companies will talk about, okay, we're going to take 6 people. We're going to put them in this conference room with glass walls. We're going to shut the door. No one can go in there. Don't bother these people. They're Agile. What's beyond that? There's a whole company out there these people have to interact with. There's all kinds of compliance and guidance and governance, and how do you interact and still be Agile? So PMI is talking about that, and it's just wonderful. I'm building a disciplined Agile team. So they talk about how do you start it up. And if you go to the Scrum Guide and you download that, you'll see that they don't really talk about that. You know, they kind of start with, you have a product backlog and you're up and running. Well, there's a lot that goes into starting. And then this next big piece, choosing your way of working. The first step in disciplined Agile is asking the question, will your company let you decide your way of working? And if you don't have that, you need to convince them that they should let you decide. Now, of course, there's guided continuous improvement, and of course, there are parameters and ranges, but PMI is the only group that I'm running into that says, let people make some choices. And this is just key, and I'll cover that in a minute. And then there's another thing going on, and everybody talks about this, and I'll go back to my wizard on the other page. And the wizard on the other page had, you know, those magical fireballs, and, you know, go see the shaman who will tell you how to do Agile, you know, because no one really knows how to do it. Well, this is process tailoring. Everybody has to tailor the Agile process because no one has done Agile in your company before. And you need that tailoring. And so PMI has locked in on that. And they've got a methodology here in this Choosing Your Way of Working book. They've taken all of the possibilities and put them together. So it's just magnificent. The other piece is, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, we always assume that the team is just up and running in Agile. And if you want to figure out how to start a team, or if you want to figure out how to transition work from that team to completion, you need to go see the shaman, or you need to buy another book, or you need to bring in another consultant. There's always something else that you have to do. And we have looked with PMI stuff, and they have phases in here. And they say, you know what? There is an inception phase. There are things you have to do to get kicked off within your organization and do that in a meaningful way. Construction, there's lots of choices you have to make, lots of goals for construction. And also for transition. When you're done, how do you get this out of the team and into production? How do you deal with DevOps and all the other things that are out there? And here's another piece. On an ongoing basis, the team is supposed to be improving their process. And if you've ever been on an Agile team and seen how that goes, it does not go that well. Teams tend to be really stuck in the mud looking for ideas on how do they make their practices better. So I'm just entirely thrilled with what PMI has done here. So I would like to probably drop out of this PowerPoint and just say, here's the screen. Once again, this is the promo code. You can take a shot of that if you'd like. But let me demo a little bit at least the live virtual environment and show you what fun this is. So I use a tool called Miro. And I'm not here to promote Miro or any other tool. It could just as easily be Jira or, name your poison. There's dozens literally of these tools available. But I'm going to just kind of move around a little bit in here and show you what it's like to be in class and give you an idea of the capabilities that PMI is bringing forward. Now, when I hold a class, my students get these boards. So this is kind of my takeaway. So PMI has a certain amount of curriculum that they give, and I have an amount of curriculum that I add on top of it. So all of these Miro boards are giveaways to the students. So I'll just, I'll go into presentation mode and just talk a little bit about what's going on. So, here's the introduction. We're talking about Disciplined Agile. We're going to talk now about choosing your way of working. And at the base of Disciplined Agile, there's Disciplined Agile delivery. There are 21 process goals. So I call that the blackjack table, and I'll show that to you in a moment. So keep that in mind. There's me, sorry, another ugly picture. A little fun factoid about me, I'm not a big fan of metrics. I think a lot of times they're watermelon metrics. They're green on the outside, red in the middle. And the metrics take on a life of their own. I've had many engineering teams come to me and give me a metric that just is not showing value to the customer. Here's my LinkedIn profile. Please feel free to connect with me. Here's my company that's also connected to the LinkedIn profile. And lots of good stuff out there. And then once again, that promo code. Knowing who you are. So I mentioned this earlier, but Siemens brought me in and we were doing Scrum of Scrums, which is a scaling methodology. And I had 30 teams at that point, 30. And then they said, okay, we want to go to 130. And I said, well, you're getting a little bit past the number of phone calls I can have in one day. I need a little bit more intellectual property. I need some stuff written down. I need some role-based training. Need to do quite a bit. We need to make an investment in a quick and dirty framework to bring up 100 teams of monolithic software engineers. So this is the thing that I think is really super interesting. And I'm just going to drop out of here for a moment. PMI will say, okay, well, there's a process goal out there called evolving your way of working, which means, you should select a life cycle as one of the decision points under that process goal. And we'll talk more about these. But if you look at it, what we've got here is traditional waterfall is a valid selection. It happens to be their last selection. but that's dependent on circumstances. And the thing to remember is PMI always says your local context should determine this. This list that they give us is just that. It's a baseline list. But look at this. There's the Scrum life cycle, the exploratory life cycle, like the lean startup, and here's SAFE. And there's Nexus, there's less, and I came into Siemens doing less. And then we were looking, well, should we go to Nexus? Should we amp up less, or should we go to SAFE? We chose to go to SAFE. And so I just wanted to point that out and say, Disciplined Agile recognizes the value of all of these. Now, the number one method they suggest is continuous delivery lean, which we teach in the course, but there's lots of possibilities here. So this is, my Siemens journey, trained about 800 people, did all this training. One thing that happened to me in Siemens is I get to the top of the hill with my rock. I teach all of these people Disciplined Agile, or rather SAFE, and then where do you go? It kind of plateaus. There's no more place to push the rock to. As you saw with Evolve Your Way of Working, which is a process goal, that's one. There are 20 other process goals. And under those 20 other process goals, there's 145 decision points. So just going back a slide or two, here's one process goal, here's one decision point, here's all of the options. So this options column, if I go over here, there's 800 of these options, and that's just in the foundation of Disciplined Agile. There are many, many more options available. So this was really like an incredible epiphany for me. It's like, everybody who's paying their membership to PMI has accelerated my career at warp speed. I have 800 different options I can talk to people about in terms of proving the process. And in fact, we're talking about this DAD process blade right here. That's what they call a bundle of options. Look at all these other bundles of options. And oh, by the way, take a look. Vendor management, legal, transformation, asset management, information technology, HR. I deal with legal quite a bit because we have about 300 free and open source software packages in our main platform. And I have lots of decisions to make with legal. So lots of goals. So it was just really wonderful to find all this stuff. Now, I don't want to leave you tonight with the impression that Disciplined Agile is just about these goals. So does anyone recognize what life cycle this looks like? Would anyone care to hazard a guess? If you look right in the middle here, you see you see Scrum.
Yeah, that's I was going to say SAFE.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially the Scrum life cycle. This is the Agile life cycle. We teach this in Disciplined Agile, but there's some key differences. We have this inception phase where we talk about how this all starts up. And we have this transition phase where we talk about how you transition the completed work and move on. And we've also got another phase that's not depicted here, which is ongoing. So at the end of every one of these iterations, this team is supposed to get better. They're supposed to do a demo, and then they're supposed to have this session where they reflect an after-action review or retrospective. And a lot of times they just run out of ideas. And so here they are. Here's all these ideas. So this is just wonderful stuff. So let me drop back out for a moment and just take us on over to look at the process goals. And I'll just say, obviously I could talk about this for days on end and often do. Here are the process goals. So underneath these process goals, there are 800 possibilities. So forming the team, aligning with the enterprise direction, exploring scope. Under each one of these, there's lots and lots of decisions to make. And what's gone on is Disciplined Agile itself is decades old. And the wisdom of decades of experience has been cooked into this Disciplined Agile Book of Knowledge. And if you get in there, you can see all the different ways that people have learned to explore scope. So I can give you a quick tour of that. And this is all material, by the way, that we use in class. So here's the process goals, and there's a whole field manual. There's 400 pages of this. But you might say, well, how can I do this electronically? I'm living in a new normal. How can I get this out to everybody that it needs to get out to? Well, one of the first things you can do is you can use a board like this. And you see an inception. Here's form team. And I'm just going to zoom in on this card and say, okay, here's form team. Here's a process goal. What is this all about? Where will the people come from? How do we intend to evolve the team? How will sub-teams be set up? What type of team members do we need? So there's a significant amount of decisions that need to be made for this particular item. So this is the process goal. So if I want to see potential decisions, I'll just click here and move on down and look under form team. Here are some of the questions that I can ask. And I'm just going to crunch this board on down because we don't need it right now. Where do team members come from? How long should the team be together? How are they going to be distributed geographically? How are you going to evolve this team and get them to be better? How big should the team be? The structure of the team. So all of these are, really, really interesting. A large team of 30 plus people, well, that was the world that I lived in. And you can see that in each of these are the options that are suggested. This number 1 is the preferred option, and this is also the starter. So small teams, 2 to 15 people, and it goes on from there. And we talk about everything Agile. So this is just the inception set. There's also a set here for transition. There's a set here for construction. There's a set here for ongoing. You remember earlier on I mentioned with ongoing, evolving the way of working. So when I started at Siemens with SAFE, I followed the prescription. I saluted and I went forward and followed the prescription. Everybody must do Scrum. And I'm exaggerating a little bit there, but essentially that's what we did. And for most of the people, that turned out to be a great decision. But for about 6 teams, it was an awful decision. They didn't need all of the extra overhead from doing a Scrum lifecycle. They had a very standard flow of work. They're doing production support type work. And that actually was a disservice to them to try and get these extra things pushed in. And so in a retrospective with this team, we said, well, okay, realizing that that's a problem, what are some of the options? And the team looked at it and said, well, what is this starter lean thing? Well, this is Kanban. And we talked a little bit about Kanban. They said, well, that's what we should have been doing from the start. We should not have been doing Scrum. This recommendation was what we did. So we have an opportunity to let these people look at these and select something that will help them. And typically what we do to facilitate that pattern is we go into a retrospective and we say, okay, what kind of problems do we have? And I'll just look here and say, well, here's some feedback I got on my product owners. They were considering the demo feedback as a defect and not as an addition to the requirements, so they're blaming the development team. They weren't letting the developers talk to the stakeholders. They were not validating the stakeholder ideas. The product owner was not reaching out to the users. So how do you deal with seemingly intractable problems like these? Well, one at a time. So Miro happens to have this voting element. So we could do multi-voting on these, pick the one that we're most interested in. And actually you can see on this board, I've actually done this exercise, and the team said, not questioning the customer is the one that bothers us the most. So how are we going to deal with that? And we said, well, let's look at vision and strategy. And we did some more multi-voting, and then we came along and said, okay, well, here are some particular techniques that are in the Agile Book of Knowledge. Let's talk about these techniques. And when you go one level deeper in the Agile Book of Knowledge, it will tell you the pluses and minuses of each of these techniques. And then in this kit that I hand out, you'll see that there are always links back to that book of knowledge. And so I'm just going to zoom back out and zoom back in here. And so if you want to know where's this exploring scope section, it's chapter 9, page 136. So this is a very good online tool that will help people to very quickly zoom in and out, move around, browse all the 810 possibilities and solve problems. So I would go back and just say too that this board itself is only representing this group, this set of process goals, this 806, which is only representing one of the process blades. So it's a pretty intense package, and there's lots and lots of great stuff in here. So that's sort of a whirlwind tour, and I've been going on now for quite a while. So let me, I guess, zoom in on this one and just say, what questions can I answer at this stage of the game?
Well, my question revolves around the various types and methods of the Agile, I guess, manifesto, and how in depth is that knowledge necessary for the DASM certification? Do you have to know all of those types of Scrum methods, or how deep does it go? Because I've only been exposed to SAFe.
So this is where you come to learn those things. So this is the first point, the entry point, and this is very much no experience needed. So if you've been exposed to SAFe and you're already a good Scrum Master, I would point you in the direction of the ACP or of the Senior Scrum Master. But if you're wanting to get in there and learn the way of working book, get access to all of the options and start to see the entire breadth of Agile as well as depth in many areas, this is the one for you.
Okay.
And
All right.
PMI has a pretty...
And there, you said earlier, excuse me,
Sure, go ahead.
you said that earlier that there is a progression. So you go DASM, then ACP, then DA Senior?
Yeah, let me bring this up and just say PMI, Disciplined Agile. So you can get to it pretty quickly, and very friendly links and all that. So you don't have to progress through the entire journey. You can jump in wherever it fits for you. So this is just a full treatment. So this one, the DASM, is 14 hours, no prerequisites. The ACP has some prerequisites, and it's 21 hours. The Senior Scrum Master is coming out December 4th, and the coach after that. So I believe they're going to be similar, but I don't want to go too far into discussing those. But I would say this is probably more like a 2 years of being a Scrum Master type certification. And this little video shows you all.
I'm just beginning.
Oh, then there's SM. It's for you. And by the way, I'd like to say thank you to you personally, because your patronage and your membership has supported the development of the WOW book, the Agile Book of Knowledge. So nothing would thrill me more than to give back to you and say, here's a book of knowledge you made. Let's use it. So yeah, I'm incredibly energized by this. And let's see, you can also find training partners here. I'm listed out there. Lots of other stuff, good videos on it. So it's nice stuff.
Now, am I taking someone else's place in terms of asking questions? I see Kaylin is on.
Do you have questions?
No, I don't.
So was this useful for you? Was it what you expected?
So a lot of it was kind of over my head, so I would be definitely interested in, diving into this and learning a little more.
Excellent. Well, this course in particular is the one that you want to take to, get into it. And I think, come to this webpage, have a good look at it, read about it. And by the way, PMI is lots and lots of great stuff. And if you're already a waterfall project manager, you probably qualify for the PMP, which is another excellent, way to learn, a way to, kind of brand yourself in the world. I think all of these are excellent. And I am sincere. Any certification just means that you care. And I think the most important thing is that you care.
So I do have a question. The promo code that you guys have, is it just for that 17th and 18th class?
Yes. Yeah, it's for that class.
Do you guys offer any nighttime or possibly like recording of the classes?
There are no recordings. It's all live virtual instruction. If you need a nighttime class, I'm sure one will turn up eventually. And you could go out and visit the other partners and see. I would imagine somebody out there is offering one. There are probably a dozen partners, so there's probably a schedule that will fit your need. And all of these courses are guaranteed to run. So this one on the 17th is guaranteed to run. I've got one person signed up so far, so it will certainly happen. And the last one I did was with 3 people. And it really turned into just a great session because it was really almost like one-on-one attention, and everybody passed. And that was for the senior Scrum Master. So with these COVID times, who knows? And the last thing I'd say is, if there's COVID troubles, no worries, we'll take care of it. So don't let that dissuade you from anything.
Do you have any idea, excuse me, Kaylin, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of you.
No, you're all right. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if Andy knew how much it costs to take the DASM exam.
It's included in the class fee.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
You got one shot at the test, and it's on a 30-day window, so it's a little different than the PMP. But I haven't had a student have a problem yet, except for one guy on the senior one who failed to take it in his window. And he and I had to go back and forth and fight with PMI for about 2 weeks to get him another code to take the exam. I stick with no people. I make sure they get through. And since we're all just chit-chatting, my favorite story is with ACP. I had a brilliant DevOps manager from TCS Consulting who was running, $100 million projects, real hardcore technical. And he put too much detail on his application to PMI for the ACP. And they couldn't understand his application because it was so complex. And to add fuel to the fire, he didn't speak English very well. And he and I had to go back and forth with PMI for at least a month to unwind his application and make it serviceable so PMI could understand his credentials. He was one of the most credentialed people I've ever trained. So it's just kind of fun. But
yeah. So the discount for this class in December, or the code for it, what does that get us? And then what would be the additional cost for the class?
Well, you can go to Eventbrite and sign up. Let me see. You can probably just go. Yeah. And I can't see my screen because I've got a box open here. So here's my website under services. Here is the Columbus course that's coming up with that PMI chapter. Here's the one of the 17. So it's a 50% discount. And here are the 2 ticket ranges. So it's $1,000 for the early bird. So if you put in the promo code here, it will cut that in half. And then last call runs till December 11th.
Okay.
And this,
That's
as I
a nice
said,
offer.
I won't be beat on price. As I said, this is a passion
You
project.
won't be what?
I will not be beat on price. This is a passion project.
Oh.
I'm doing this because I'm a true believer. I've drank the Kool-Aid and I want to get this out for everyone to use. So I just think this is great stuff. And honestly, what I really find exciting.
Are you based?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, what I really find exciting is, you know how we update the PMBOK every 4 years? And it gets better and better and better? Think about 1 million members updating our Agile book of knowledge and all these options. Think how big it's going to get and how wonderful. And I'm so tired of having to go see the man on the mountain to find out what the answer is to my simple Agile question. You know, I'm tired of the vision quest. This is mature. It's been around since the 80s. You shouldn't have to, you know, go seek out the guru. I mean, the information should be available in one good resource. And now it is. I'm thrilled. So you had another question?
Let's see, what was I going to ask? I'll think of it in a minute.
Oh, sure thing.
Oh, I was going to ask you, so are you a member of the Columbus, Ohio chapter?
I am not. I am actually based out of Cincinnati. And I am probably—
Cincinnati, okay.
Yeah, I offer these type of services to any chapter that would like them. So Columbus wanted—
Oh, you do?
Yeah, Columbus wanted a bespoke training. And when I deal with chapters, we make our own deals about how we're going to do things. As a ATP, what I'm finding is a lot of local chapters have very good trainers who have been disenfranchised by PMI. And so in the case of Columbus, some of those people are becoming project management gorillas, and they're going to take care of that local market. So I'm ready to stand. I'm ready to stand up for any chapter. I think I'm starting conversations with Space Coast, Florida. So I'm available to any chapter.
Well, the reason I asked is because I'm the president-elect of the Columbus, Georgia chapter of PMI.
Well, we've
been wanting to, Oh, do you? Yeah, it's a great place. That's way over on the other side of the state from us.
Kind of like our New Year's swim. I would love to help, and I think I've sent these codes to Lee out of the Savannah chapter, and he might actually have circulated them on that website. But feel free to put this on your website if you'd like. I would love to get more people in the class, and if you would want to talk about PMP training and other things, I'm there for it. And as you can see, I love this stuff. With every fiber, I just think this is great. And it's gotten better every year, so I couldn't be more thrilled. You know, the disciplined Agile, there aren't many people that have reached the coach level. So it's very challenging to get to that. And I think many of my contemporaries actually got rejected. So it's been fun
Oh,
to achieve in this realm.
I guess so. I guess
Yeah.
so. It's quite an elite group.
Yeah, well, and let me show you my partner in crime here. So we're going to be adding other gorillas here, but you may recognize Dave Davies from PMI events. He looks like Santa.
I do. Yes, I do.
And so Dave teaches PGMP. So the ones that I don't teach, Dave teaches. We have heavy overlap between the two of us. And so when we teach, if there are local trainers who want to be part of the group, we take them in, of course. And if one of them falls down or can't do it, we'll step in. And we just do contracts on an event by event basis. And I'm talking to Dayton right now about, what we can do for them. And they're like, well, is this an exclusive relationship? And I'm like, only in the fact that you'll never beat my price and my quality. That will make it exclusive. Other than that, I don't need anything from you. Just a chance, because we're committed. And Dave is very, very good. Dave is very, very good. So.
Good.
But I'm
Good.
probably going to have
Good.
some Columbus people up here shortly.
Yeah, good. I was at the 50th anniversary LIM in Philadelphia when a lot of this stuff was released. So it's, and I attended one of the breakout sessions with Scott Ambler and Mark Lyons. And it was just fascinating to me. And that was my first introduction to disciplined agile, but it just made so much sense to me, rather than, going in one direction only. It really includes all of them.
Well,
So
what
that's
truly
the reason I liked it.
What truly fascinates me is PMI has not done what you think PMI would do. PMI has embraced this notion of being agile and, really doing the principles correctly. And I think the reason that I think the PMI wouldn't do that is over the years, I've been conditioned by all these agile folks to believe that PMI is bad somehow. Lo and behold, Scott Ambler, Mark Lyons, Alan Shalloway have all joined the fold. We've got some of the best scientists in the world. So I'm entirely thrilled. Well, Pam, I hope
It's
to
almost
see some
the top
of you
of the hour.
Yeah, I hope to see some of you in your cohort from Georgia in this class, or if not, another one. And Kaylin, I hope you can make it too.
Yeah. I'll have to check my calendar and see what it looks like, but I appreciate the intro, and perhaps I can hook up in one of your classes real soon.
Okay, and if you do put any of this information on your website, let me know, because I'll point some social media dollars at you. And we'll see if we can make it work.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Be safe out there. Not the
Thank
skilled
you.
agile
All right,
framework
you
type, but
too.
the physical safety. All righty. Bye now.
Yes.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.